the speed that shouldn't exist. There are disturbances, and then there are violations. On Beerus's planet, the air was calm, sacred, heavy with divine stillness. Goku stood barefoot against the cool stone platform, sweat rolling down his face as he tried to move without thinking. To let his body flow the way Whis demanded. Again, Whis said gently, tapping his staff against the ground. Vegeta, several meters away, trained separately. His aura flickered in controlled bursts. Not wild, not wasteful. Precision, pride, refinement. Above them, Beerus rested with one eye half open, pretending not to care. And then reality bent. Not exploded, not shattered. Bent. The horizon rippled as if someone had dragged a blade through the sky itself. The clouds twisted inward toward an invisible axis. The air compressed, but there was no key spike. No malicious intent, no godly signature. Goku froze mid-step. Huh? Vegeta felt it too, and immediately shifted into a defensive stance. His smile faded for the first time that day. His staff hummed. That, he said softly, is not energy. The distortion intensified. Across the purple heavens of the divine world, a thin blue streak appeared. Faint at first, like a distant comet. Then it multiplied, after images overlapping, in impossible patterns. The streak wasn't flying. It was running. Space warped in its wake. The very coordinates of Beerus's planet trembled as if struggling to maintain alignment within Universe 7's structure. Goku's eyes widened. Is that a new transformation? No, Vegeta replied sharply. There's no key. That was the problem. In Dragon Ball's cosmos, everything had key. Mortals, gods, even planets resonated with some form of spiritual energy. But this was silent. The blue streak curved sharply around the planet, dragging a spiral of distorted light behind it. The gravitational balance of Beerus's world shifted slightly, enough that even the trees swayed unnaturally. Beerus stood. And when a god of destruction stands, creation listens. His ears twitched, eyes narrowing as he analyzed the phenomenon. I don't sense destruction, he muttered, but something is trespassing. The streak descended. It didn't crash. It corrected trajectory mid-motion with impossible precision, skimming the ground and carving glowing friction lines across divine grass before stopping in a burst of displaced wind. Silence fell. Where the streak ended, a small blue figure stood upright, brushing dust from his gloves. Sonic blinked at the alien sky. Okay, that was definitely not supposed to happen. Goku's face lit up instantly. Whoa, you're fast! Vegeta did not share the enthusiasm. His aura flared faintly. Not full power, but enough to test the stranger's reaction. Sonic felt it immediately. A pressure unlike anything he'd encountered before. Not chaos energy, not technological force. This was something ancient, structured, hierarchical. His smirk faded slightly. Whis floated closer, staff hovering inches above the ground. He circled Sonic once, studying him like a rare artifact. How fascinating, Whis murmured. You have no divine energy, no mortal key, no detectable signature at all. Sonic crossed his arms defensively. Yeah, I get that a lot. Beerus stepped forward. The ground darkened beneath his feet. You stand in the realm of a god of destruction, Beerus said coldly. Explain yourself. Sonic looked from Beerus to the floating attendant, to the spiky-haired warriors behind them. Look, I was running. Fast. Maybe a little too fast. Then things got weird. Weird? Vegeta snapped. You tore through space-time like it was cloth. Sonic hesitated. That wasn't entirely wrong. He remembered pushing himself. Beyond light, beyond dimension. Beyond even the comfortable hum of chaos resonance. He'd felt resistance, then breakthrough. But this world felt different. Heavy. Dense. As if the universe itself pushed back. Goku stepped closer, excitement overpowering caution. I didn't sense you at all. That's amazing. How do you move without ki? Sonic tilted his head. Guy? His eyes sharpened. You truly do not understand what you've done. He tapped his staff gently against the ground. The image of the universe appeared in miniature. Glowing threads representing space-time structure. A bright chaotic tear pulsed near Universe 7's edge. You did not teleport, Whis explained calmly. You did not use divine transportation. You did not request passage through any angelic gate. His voice lowered. You outran dimensional boundaries. Even Beerus looked slightly unsettled by that phrasing. Goku blinked. Wait, so he just ran here? Vegeta's jaw tightened. That's impossible. Not impossible, Whis corrected. Improbable. Sonic glanced at the cosmic projection and felt something unfamiliar creeping into his chest. Uncertainty. For the first time, speed hadn't just been an advantage. It had been a violation. Beerus's aura flared subtly, not attacking, but asserting dominance. The pressure in the air thickened instantly. Sonic's knees bent instinctively as his body recalibrated. He didn't fall, but he felt it. This wasn't Eggman. This wasn't Dark Gaia. This wasn't even Solaris-level instability. This was a god who erased things for balance. Whis looked at the fading dimensional scar in the projection and whispered, almost to himself, that wasn't power. That was speed-breaking causality. The weight of that statement settled heavily over the group. Sonic looked around at the divine realm beneath his feet. Divine soil, divine sky, divine hierarchy, and he had entered it without permission, without energy, without warning. Beerus' voice cut through the silence. Whis, yes, my lord? If this creature can cross universes by running, what happens when he decides to run faster? The question lingered, and somewhere beyond mortal awareness, something ancient stirred in response to the anomaly. Because one truth had just been confirmed. Someone had crossed universes without using ki, and that should not be possible. So the real question wasn't whether Sonic belonged here. It was, what else could follow him through this tier? Section 2. A hedgehog in a world of gods. Something was wrong. Sonic felt it before anyone spoke again. The air here didn't flow the same way. It resisted him. Every micro-adjustment of his stance, every subtle vibration of muscle fiber. The universe pushed back. Not violently, just firmly. He reached inward. Nothing. No hum of Chaos Emerald resonance. No faint echo of dimensional anchors. The familiar cosmic undertone that had always accompanied his greatest feats of speed was simply gone. This wasn't Mobius. And whatever this place was, it had rules. Goku, meanwhile, was grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. You're seriously amazing, he said, stepping closer without fear. I didn't sense you at all. That's crazy. I'm Goku. Sonic studied him carefully. There was no hostility in his posture, just excitement. Pure, battle-loving curiosity. Sonic, he replied. And yeah, I get that a lot. Vegeta moved in front of Goku instantly. Idiot, he muttered. Then louder, sharper. State your purpose. Sonic raised an eyebrow. Purpose. I was running. You know, exercise? Beerus' tail flicked. The temperature dropped. You ran across dimensional boundaries and trespassed into the domain of a god of destruction, Beerus said coldly. That is not exercise. That is intrusion. Sonic met his gaze. And for the first time since arriving, he measured someone instead of reacting. This wasn't just power. This was authority layered over strength, the kind that didn't need to shout. Still, Sonic didn't bow. Look, big ears, he said carefully. Not mocking, but not submissive either. If I knew I was crashing a god party, I'd have knocked. Vegeta's aura flared slightly. He mocks Lord Beerus, definitely an assassin. I'm not an assassin, Sonic shot back. And if I was, I'd have picked someone easier. The tension tightened. Goku scratched his head awkwardly. He doesn't feel evil. That's precisely what makes it concerning, Vegeta replied. He has no key signature at all. It's like he doesn't belong to this structure. Whis floated forward, amused but analytical. Yes, that is the peculiar part. He extended his staff again, lightly tapping the ground. A pulse spread outward. Subtle, controlled, scanning. Sonic felt it brush against him like invisible light. His instincts screamed. He moved. Not a sprint, not a burst across continents. Just a step. And yet, the air cracked faintly where he had been standing. Whis' staff missed his shoulder by less than an inch. Sonic reappeared 3 meters away, eyes narrowed now. Hey, he said, tone sharper. Little warning next time. Whis blinked, then smiled wider. Fascinating. Beerus' gaze sharpened. Even Vegeta's confidence shifted slightly. Whis had not attacked, he had tested. And Sonic had barely avoided it. Interesting reaction speed, Whis continued gently, but more than that, the displacement. He replayed the movement in his mind, something only an angel could fully process. You do not accelerate through space in the conventional sense, Whis said calmly. You force it to reconcile your position after you've already moved. Sonic didn't fully understand the wording, but he understood the implication. This world measured movement differently. Goku stepped forward again, excitement reigniting. Can we spar? Just a little? I want to see how fast you are. Sonic smirked slightly. Trust me, you don't. Vegeta scoffed. Arrogant. Confident, Sonic corrected. But inside he was calculating. This gravity felt denser. The space between atoms felt tighter. Even light seemed to travel differently. If this universe operated on energy called ki, and he couldn't sense it, that meant everyone else here could sense things he couldn't. He was blind in their world. Beerus stepped closer. The divine pressure returned. Heavier this time. Sonic's shoes dug into the sacred soil as invisible force pressed against him from all directions. Not physical, hierarchical. Whether assassin or accident, Beerus said calmly, you are unstable within my universe. Sonic exhaled slowly. He didn't vibrate this time. Didn't flex power. He stood, measured his breathing, adjusted his stance to reduce resistance. Not reckless. Adaptive. That subtle change did not go unnoticed. Vegeta's eyes narrowed slightly. He's learning, Whis nodded faintly. Indeed. Then, without warning, Whis vanished. The air shifted. Sonic felt it half a heartbeat before impact. He twisted sideways at maximum reflex. Barely. The staff grazed the edge of his quills. The shockwave from the near contact split a nearby rock formation clean in half. Sonic landed on one knee several meters away. His expression had changed. Less playful now. More focused, Whis floated back into view, pleasantly impressed. You see, he said softly. He doesn't move through space. His eyes gleamed. He outruns it. The revelation hung in the air. Even Beerus absorbed that carefully. To outrun space. To ignore ki. To cross universes without divine authorization. This was not simple speed. This was structural anomaly. And anomalies were dangerous. Beerus's patience thinned. Enough observation, he said. The sky darkened slightly as a subtle aura of destruction gathered around him. Not full power, not even close, but intentional. If he can survive a god's touch, Beerus declared calmly, then perhaps he has the right to stand here. Goku's eyes widened with excitement. Vegeta stepped back, sensing the seriousness. Sonic rose slowly to his feet. He rolled his shoulders once. Okay, he muttered under his breath. Now we're talking. Beerus lifted one finger. A small, concentrated sphere of destruction energy formed at its tip. Not large, but absolute. And as the god of destruction prepared to test the stranger who outran causality, one silent question lingered over the divine world. Could speed save him from erasure? Section 3. The Divine Warning. The difference between power and authority became clear in an instant. Beerus did not roar. He did not transform. He simply allowed a fraction of his existence to press outward, and the world responded. The grass flattened. The air thickened. Even light seemed to hesitate. Sonic felt it hit him like invisible gravity multiplied 1,000 times over. His knees bent instinctively as divine pressure settled onto his frame. Not crushing, but commanding. This wasn't raw force like he'd faced against titanic monsters or reality-warping entities. This was hierarchy. This universe had layers, and he was standing at the bottom of one. Sonic grit his teeth. Okay, he muttered, boots carving into sacred soil. That's new. Goku leaned forward, eyes shining despite the tension. Whoa, Lord Beerus is serious. Vegeta didn't move. He recognized this pressure well. It was restrained, controlled. But even Super Saiyan Blue had once struggled under it. And this hedgehog had no key. Beerus' voice cut through the strain. You stand in a divine realm without invitation. Survive this much, and perhaps I will tolerate your presence. The pressure intensified slightly. Sonic's muscles trembled. His quills fluttered in the distorted air. He tried to shift his footing, but the space around him resisted movement itself. He inhaled slowly. Then something clicked. This wasn't about outrunning the force. It was about enduring it. He lowered his center of gravity, distributing the pressure across his frame instead of resisting head-on. Adaptive. Analytical. Vegeta noticed immediately. He's adjusting, the Saiyan Prince muttered. Whis observed carefully, intrigued. Sonic's eyes darted toward Goku. You always train under this kind of pressure. Goku laughed lightly. You get used to it. Vegeta scoffed. Or you're crushed. Sonic exhaled sharply. Good to know. The divine aura pulsed once more. This time, Sonic staggered. Not dramatically, but enough. And in that moment, he understood something critical. This world did not revolve around speed. It revolved around energy. Kai flowed through everything here. Structured, measurable, hierarchical. And the unsettling part? They could sense him, but not fully. He saw it in their eyes. The way Goku tilted his head, the way Vegeta narrowed his gaze. They felt something where he stood, but it was incomplete, like a blind spot in their perception. Why can't I lock on to him? Vegeta growled. There's presence, but no reading. Whis answered calmly. Because he does not exist within our energetic framework. Beerus' eyes narrowed further. That makes him unstable. Goku stepped forward slightly, despite the tension. Hey, let me fight him for real. Just a quick spar. I want to see how he moves. Sonic shot him a sideways look. You really pick weird times to make friends. I'm serious, Goku grinned. You're strong. I can tell. Vegeta folded his arms. Do not underestimate Saiyan's creature, especially not him. Sonic smirked faintly despite the pressure. Trust me, I don't underestimate anyone who can warp the weather by standing still. Beerus' patience thinned. Enough talk. He flicked a single finger. A small orb of destruction energy. Hakai formed at its tip. Not large, not dramatic, but absolute. The air around it evaporated. Sonic's instincts screamed. Beerus released it. Not at full lethal force, but directly at Sonic. There was no dramatic charge up, no warning beam, just inevitability. Sonic reacted instantly. He vibrated, not running forward, not backward. He shifted frequency, phasing between states of matter to let the attack pass through him. It was a reflex he'd used against dimensional threats before, but this universe did not appreciate being ignored. The moment Sonic's body accelerated into that hyper-vibrational state, the ground cracked. A thin fracture raced across Beerus' planet, splitting the divine stone beneath their feet. The sky above shimmered like fractured glass. Time itself stuttered. The Hakai orb destabilized midair, flickering erratically as Sonic's phased state disrupted the surrounding space-time grid. Was moved instantly. His staff struck the ground with a sharp chime. The distortion froze. The fracture stopped spreading. The sky sealed. Barely. Silence fell over the divine world. Sonic dropped back into normal phase, breathing slightly heavier now. He looked down at the crack in the ground. That wasn't supposed to happen. Beerus' eyes were no longer annoyed. They were sharp. Measured. Was examined the sealed fracture. Voice thoughtful. Interesting. He looked at Sonic carefully. If he goes faster, this universe may not hold. The weight of that statement settled over everyone. Goku's smile faded slightly. Vegeta's expression hardened. Sonic stared at his own hands. He hadn't attacked. He hadn't powered up. He had simply tried to avoid erasure. And the act of existing at that speed had threatened the structural integrity of a god's world. This wasn't Eggman. This wasn't Solaris. This was a cosmology built on divine law. And he had just bent it by accident. Far above them. Beyond Universe 7. Beyond the Kaioshin realm. A ripple echoed outward. In a palace where even gods of destruction bowed their heads, an angel paused. The Grand Priest turned slowly toward the source of distortion. His eyes narrowed slightly. A foreign velocity, he murmured. Back on Beerus' planet, the air remained tense. Beerus stepped forward again, aura subtly rising. Not enraged. Curious. You are either a mistake, he said quietly, or a threat. Sonic met his gaze without flinching. Guess we're about to find out. And somewhere beyond mortal comprehension, a higher authority had just taken notice. Section 4. Speed versus Super Saiyan. The crack in Beerus' planet had sealed. The sky had stabilized, but the tension hadn't moved an inch. Beerus folded his arms, unimpressed but intrigued. If you're going to exist here, he said flatly, then prove you won't shatter my universe every time you dodge. Goku stepped forward instantly. I'll handle it. Vegeta shot him an annoyed look. You would? Whis smiled. A controlled spar should be educational. Sonic exhaled slowly. No Chaos Emeralds. No external amplification. Just him. Fine, he said, but I'm not powering up. Goku grinned. Good. Me neither. He paused, then corrected himself. Well, not too much. In a flash of blue light, Goku transformed into Super Saiyan Blue. The divine aura ignited calmly around him. Not explosive, not wasteful. Controlled God Ki, refined through training with Whis. Dense, pressurized, silent. Sonic felt it immediately. This wasn't like Beerus' overwhelming hierarchy. This was focused. Sharp. The air trembled between them. Vegeta stepped back, observing closely. If he underestimates Kakarot now, he muttered, he won't get a second chance. Goku lowered into a relaxed stance. Ready? Sonic vanished. No wind-up. No afterimage. Just absence. He reappeared behind Goku with a spinning kick aimed at the Saiyan's shoulder. Goku blocked it. Not barely. Cleanly. The shockwave rippled outward, carving shallow trenches into the stone platform. Sonic's eyes widened. Goku smiled. You're really fast. Sonic didn't respond. He accelerated. The battlefield blurred into streaks of blue. Sonic struck from 12 angles in less than a breath. High, low, blind spots. Feints layered within feints. Goku didn't chase him. He adjusted. His body moved before his thoughts completed. He leaned half an inch to avoid a strike that hadn't landed yet. He shifted weight instinctively, countering Sonic's pattern. A fist grazed Sonic's side. Not full contact, but enough. Sonic skidded backward, boots digging into divine stone. That shouldn't have happened. I didn't see you move, Sonic said sharply. Goku scratched his cheek lightly. I didn't. I felt you. Sonic narrowed his eyes. He circled faster, breaking line of sight completely. He altered rhythm, randomized acceleration, changed frequency of step timing. Goku closed his eyes. Vegeta's eyes sharpened. He's using prediction. No, was corrected gently. He's listening. Sonic attacked again. A full-speed charge aimed at Goku's midsection. At the last possible microsecond, Goku sidestepped and countered with a palm strike. Sonic twisted mid-air to avoid direct impact, but the shockwaves still caught him. He hit the ground and flipped back to standing, not injured, but rattled. You're reacting before I move, Sonic said quietly. Goku opened his eyes now, calm and smiling. Your energy shifts before your body does. Sonic froze slightly at that. Energy? I don't use a ki, he said. Doesn't matter, Goku replied. Everything moves with intent, even you. Sonic tested it again, this time slowing slightly, disguising intent behind feints. Goku's reaction lagged a fraction. That was all Sonic needed. He clipped Goku's ribs cleanly, launching him several meters back. Vegeta smirked faintly. He adapts quickly. Goku steadied himself mid-slide, grinning wider now. Okay, this is fun. His aura sharpened, not growing massively, but tightening, focused, condensed. Sonic charged again, faster this time. And for the first time in years, he felt resistance in the space ahead of him. Not physical, energetic. Goku wasn't chasing Sonic's body. He was tracking the disturbance Sonic created before he moved. Intent, flow, pre-action vibration. Sonic attacked from above. Goku vanished. Instant transmission. He reappeared behind Sonic mid-motion and drove an elbow downward. Sonic twisted, barely avoiding a direct hit. But the elbow grazed his shoulder. Pain shot down his arm. He flipped away, breathing slightly heavier now. This is ridiculous, Sonic muttered. You shouldn't be able to tag me. Goku landed lightly. You're fast, he admitted. Faster than almost anyone I've fought. He tilted his head slightly. But speed alone isn't enough. Sonic's jaw tightened. He accelerated to a level just below phasing, pushing the limit without destabilizing the planet. The battlefield fractured under the pressure of velocity. He appeared in front of Goku, fist extended. Goku's eyes shifted. For a split second, silver flickered in his pupils. Not full Ultra Instinct, but instinctive flow. He moved without conscious thought. And this time, he struck first. A clean, direct punch to Sonic's midsection. The impact echoed across Beerus' planet. Sonic's body froze in shock. The world went silent around him. He hadn't been hit like that in years. Not cleanly, not decisively. He skidded backward across the divine platform, boots tearing grooves into the stone before finally stopping, breathing heavier now, eyes wide. Your energy, Sonic said quietly, staring at Goku. It reacts before I move. Goku's aura settled slightly. He smiled. Welcome to Ultra Instinct training. The words landed heavier than the punch. This world didn't just fight with power. It fought with awareness, with layers beyond speed. And for the first time since arriving, Sonic realized he wasn't the fastest thing in the fight. He was the most predictable. Vegeta stepped forward slightly, arms crossed. Well, he said coldly. Still confident? Sonic wiped dust from his gloves slowly. His smirk returned. But it was different now. Measured. I haven't even started pushing. Beerus watched carefully, tail swaying. Push too far, he warned quietly, and I erase you. The air tightened again, and as Sonic leaned forward to re-engage, a silent realization settled across the battlefield. If he had just been hit without chaos amplification, what would happen when he truly tried to win? Section 5. The first real collision. For the first time since arriving in Universe 7. Sonic stopped smiling. Goku stood across from him in Super Saiyan Blue, calm and centered. Vegeta watched like a hawk. Beerus remained seated, tail swaying with quiet calculation. And Whis observed the way one studies a cosmic anomaly. Sonic rolled his shoulder where Goku had struck him. That energy of yours, he muttered. It listens. Goku grinned. It's not just energy. It's awareness. Sonic exhaled slowly. Then I guess I need to wake mine up. He closed his eyes. No emeralds. No external chaos amplification. No golden superform. But chaos energy wasn't just external. It was part of him. A faint crimson shimmer flickered beneath his quills. Subtle. Contained. Not explosive. Controlled. The air around him began to hum at a different frequency. Whis' expression sharpened. Oh my. Vegeta felt it immediately. That's new? It wasn't Kai. It wasn't God Ki. It was something older, wilder, less structured, but not chaotic in the sense of disorder. It was possibility. Sonic opened his eyes. The world slowed. Not truly, but perceptually. He wasn't moving yet, but local time around his body began to distort under the pressure of condensed velocity. Goku's smile faded into focus. Okay, he whispered. Now we're talking. Sonic vanished. This time, there was no trail. No ripple. He didn't cross the distance between them. He erased it. Goku reacted instantly. Blue aura flaring. But Sonic's fist connected first, driving Goku backward across the platform in a streak of blue and red light. The shockwave cracked the horizon. Before Goku could stabilize, Sonic reappeared above him and delivered a downward kick that split the cloud layer overhead. Goku blocked midair, gritting his teeth. That's more like it. They clashed again, fist against fist, and the impact bent the light around them. For a fraction of a second, the world appeared paused. Colors stretched thin under the strain of competing forces. Below, Vegeta's eyes narrowed. He's compressing time perception around himself, he muttered. Not true time manipulation, but close. Whis nodded slightly. Localized temporal distortion through velocity. Sonic pressed harder, striking from angles that shouldn't exist. He folded his path through micro-vibrational adjustments, slipping around Goku's predictive flow. Goku adapted. But this time, it wasn't enough. A clean uppercut launched him skyward. Sonic followed instantly. But the air shifted. Vegeta moved. In a flash of blue, Vegeta intercepted Sonic mid-pursuit, fist colliding with Sonic's guard. The impact rang like metal against metal. You're not fighting one Saiyan, Vegeta said coldly. Sonic twisted away as twin ki blasts from Goku converged on his previous location. They weren't overpowering him individually. But together, the coordination changed everything. Sonic darted between them, but the ki blasts didn't just chase. They anticipated. He dodged one. The second curved mid-flight, forcing him upward. Goku appeared above him. Vegeta below. A synchronized strike. Sonic vibrated instinctively, phasing partially to slip between them. But not fully, remembering the planetary fracture from before. The collision still landed. Not direct, but solid enough. He was driven downward into the divine platform, stone erupting outward in a circular shockwave. Dust filled the air. Silence. Then, a red-blue blur exploded upward from the crater. Sonic's expression had shifted again. Not cocky. Focused. Breathing heavier now. Okay, he admitted quietly. 2-on-1's dirty. Vegeta smirked faintly. It's efficient. They attacked again. Coordinated key feints, layered with close combat. Sonic weaved through the barrage, landing strikes where he could, but every exchange demanded more from him. His chaos energy flickered brighter. The sky darkened under the strain. Each clash now bent local time perception further. For those watching from afar, the battlefield looked like a broken recording. Frames skipping, light warping, sound delayed. Beerus watched carefully. His voice lowered. If that creature learns divine energy, the balance changes. Whis didn't respond. Because he felt it too. Sonic wasn't just adapting physically. He was studying ki, feeling its rhythm, mapping its predictive flow. The final collision came without warning. Sonic and Goku met mid-air at near equal acceleration, fists colliding with full intent. The shockwave that followed wasn't explosive. It was silent. A spherical distortion expanded outward from the point of impact, warping the sky, bending light, shaking the planet's core. The trees at the edge of Beerus' world uprooted instantly. The horizon cracked again. Whis moved. His staff struck the ground with divine authority. Time stabilized. The distortion froze mid-expansion and folded inward harmlessly. Sonic and Goku dropped lightly back to the surface, both breathing hard now. Vegeta landed beside Goku. Sonic rolled his shoulders, chaos aura dimming slightly. He hadn't lost, but he hadn't won, and for the first time, he felt challenged. Beerus stood slowly. That was enough. But even as the battlefield calmed, far beyond Beerus' planet, across Kaioshin realms, across mortal worlds, a tremor passed through Universe 7. Supreme Kais looked up. Destroyer attendants paused. Stars flickered faintly in distant sectors. The shockwave had not been contained entirely. Something foreign had just collided with godhood, and the entire universe felt it. High above existence, the Grand Priest opened his eyes fully. Ah, he said softly. The anomaly persists, and somewhere in the vastness of Universe 7, something else had begun to stir. It began as a whisper. Not sound, not light, not key, a discrepancy. Across Universe 7, the fabric of existence trembled, not violently, not destructively, but incorrectly. Supreme Kai paused mid-sentence inside his sacred world. The teacup in his hand rippled, the surface trembling as though time itself had hiccuped. He looked up sharply. That wasn't Beerus? Old Kai squinted, adjusting his glasses. No god of destruction aura. No mortal surge either. His voice lowered. It moved too fast to register. And that was the problem. In the realm of the destroyers, Belmont of Universe 11 leaned back in his throne, white gloves tapping against his armrest. His angel, Margarita, tilted her head slightly. You felt it too, she said softly. Belmont's painted grin didn't widen, but his eyes sharpened. Universe 7 again, he muttered. First mortal anomalies, now spatial distortions. Beerus is sloppy. Across the twin universe, Champa burst into laughter, nearly spilling his drink. Oh, this is rich, he roared. Beerus can't even keep his own universe stable. Maybe he found another Saiyan monkey to babysit. Vados sipped her tea calmly. It did not feel Saiyan. Champa paused. Then what was it? High above all 12 universes, beyond the reach of mortal understanding, the Grand Priest stood before a shifting lattice of cosmic light. Before him, translucent panels displayed fragments of reality, compressed timelines, energy signatures, divine hierarchies. And one anomaly, a streak, Blue. Not ki, not Hakai, not angelic travel. It had not tunneled through dimensions. It had not teleported. It had outrun the space between them. The Grand Priest's eyes narrowed, not in concern, but in calculation. Curious. He raised a hand, and the replay slowed beyond mortal perception. The streak entered Universe 7 not by breach, but by overlap, as though it had simply chosen a direction and arrived faster than causality could object. That is not conventional multiversal transit, he murmured. An attendant angel approached. Shall we inform Lord Zeno? The Grand Priest considered. Not yet. On Beerus's planet, tension lingered like a low hum in the air. The grass had not regrown where the distortion had passed. The sky itself felt slightly delayed. Beerus sat upright now, tail flicking irritably. This is getting annoying. Whis stood with hands folded, gaze distant but focused. The shockwave reached the Kai realm. Goku blinked. Wait, really? From just that? Vegeta crossed his arms, eyes sharp. That was not just that, Kakarot. Sonic stood a short distance away, arms folded, quills rustling in the breeze. For once, he wasn't smirking. He could feel it. Not chaos energy. Not emerald resonance. Something bigger had noticed him. I didn't mean to mess up your universe, Sonic muttered. I was just running. Beerus shot him a flat stare. Mortals don't just run across universes. Whis tilted his head slightly, and yet he did. That was the truth no one liked. This wasn't a key spike. It wasn't a transformation. It wasn't destruction. It was motion so absolute that it ignored borders divine beings took for granted. Back in the world of the Kais, Supreme Kai clutched his chest. It's still echoing. Old Kai frowned. Universe 7 is under evaluation after the Tournament of Power. If this instability continues. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Elsewhere, in Universe 11, Belmod stood. If Beerus is hiding a new warrior, he said slowly, we will know. Toppo stepped forward. Shall I investigate? Belmod waved a hand dismissively. Not yet. Let them reveal themselves. Champa's laughter echoed through his realm. I hope it's strong. He grinned. I'm bored. Back at the highest plane, the Grand Priest extended 2 fingers. The anomaly replayed again. The blue streak. Not destructive. Not malicious. But unpredictable. Is this being a threat or a test? He asked quietly. And then, a presence stirred. 2 small figures, seated upon thrones beyond comprehension, leaned forward. Zeno's eyes widened with childlike wonder. Oh? One Zeno chirped. That was new, the other added. The Grand Priest felt it immediately. Interest. Pure, dangerous curiosity. Below, on Beerus's planet, Sonic glanced up instinctively, though he couldn't see that high. Why do I feel like someone's watching? He muttered. Whis' smile remained calm, but his eyes flickered upward for the briefest second. Because someone was. Across 12 universes, gods of destruction were whispering. Angels were observing. Supreme Kais were uneasy. And the Omni King was curious. A being had crossed universes without permission. Without key. Without divine sanction. Not by power, but by speed. And when Zeno becomes curious, universes do not stay the same. The question was no longer whether Sonic belonged here. The question was far more dangerous. If Zeno wants to see him move again, what will Sonic have to outrun next? The mortal with no key. The battlefield was quiet. Too quiet. Sonic stood on the fractured plains of Beerus's planet, dust curling around his boots. Goku and Vegeta watched him carefully, their blue and golden auras flickering in gentle pulses rather than violent eruptions. No attacks, no speed streaks, just observation. You still rely too much on raw speed, Vegeta said, voice low and sharp. In this universe, speed without ki is meaningless. You're incomplete. Sonic tilted his head, quills catching the dim light of the twin suns above. He smirked faintly, though it lacked its usual cockiness. Power without freedom is slow, he said, voice deliberate. You can hit harder, but I move faster. Vegeta's frown deepened. You misunderstand. Intent drives energy here. Control, perception, willpower. Speed alone cannot compete with that. Goku stepped forward, hands raised calmly. He's not wrong, Vegeta. Speed's a weapon. But ki is the bridge. Its intent made tangible. He's like a storm untamed, not yet shaped. Sonic frowned slightly, absorbing the words. He had fought villains who wielded raw power. Eggman, Metal Sonic, Chaos. But this was different. Ki was not about strength or speed. It was a living flow. An awareness that existed both inside and outside the body. Sonic felt it brush against him as something alien, almost teasing, yet impossible to hold. Was drifted closer, staff tapping lightly against the stone. Fascinating, he murmured, eyes narrowing. He cannot generate Kai naturally, yet the motion he creates affects probabilities around him. His velocity warps potential outcomes. Localized causality bends to him, not by energy, but by sheer momentum. Sonic glanced at him, quizzical. Probability? Yes, Whis replied softly. Through your speed, you create infinitesimal divergences, tiny gaps where events can shift. If refined, if you could harmonize it with intent, you might rival angels. Sonic blinked, processing the weight of the statement. Angels. Even Whis' tone was heavy with understatement. To rival an angel was beyond mortal reckoning. Vegeta scoffed. You're still a child playing with tricks. Intent and discipline will crush this. Whatever it is you call velocity manipulation. You're fast, but raw speed is meaningless against refined power. Sonic's quills bristled. He darted forward in a blur, circling Vegeta at impossible speed, leaving after images in his wake. Maybe to you, power without freedom is meaningless, he shot back, tone sharp, but I've learned to move where power cannot follow. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, scanning him critically. Bold words, but words will not protect you when intent meets experience. Goku floated a step forward. It's true, Sonic. You're unique. But ki isn't something you just understand by watching. You have to feel it, become aware of it, and align your intent. I can teach you to sense it. Maybe even direct it, at least in part. Sonic's expression softened slightly. Sense it, huh? So I can't use it naturally, but I can learn its rhythm? Yes, Goku replied. But it's not speed, it's awareness, reaction, timing, anticipation, and no cooperation with your own body's energy. Sonic nodded, fists clenched lightly. He ran forward, testing himself again, striking at air, leaving micro trails of red and blue light. Each motion left a tiny distortion in space, barely perceptible, but enough for Whis to lean closer. You see, Whis said, he cannot emit ki. He cannot form energy blasts. He cannot sense others in the traditional way. Yet, his velocity creates a field of potential. Each movement alters what could happen around him. He is not weak. He is incomplete in a different sense. Sonic exhaled, rubbing his hands together. Incomplete, but still dangerous? Yes, Whis murmured, gaze sharpening. Extremely dangerous and unstable. Beerus, who had been silently observing from a distance, flicked his tail with increasing irritation. His amber eyes narrowed. Incomplete or not, he's bending reality around my planet without asking. I don't like it. I could erase him. Now. The weight of the words sank in. Sonic froze slightly, for the first time in this universe, aware not just of physical threats, but of existential ones. Whis stepped between them, hands raised in calm authority. Patience, Lord Beerus. Observation is required first. We must see the extent of his potential. Beerus snorted, but didn't move. Fine. But mark my words, if he continues to push this world without restraint, my patience has limits. Sonic glanced at Goku and Vegeta. No smiles now. Only focus. Only tension. He realized something crucial. Here, speed alone would never be enough. To survive, to thrive, to even understand this universe, he would have to merge velocity with intent. Learn ki, learn discipline, learn strategy. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark of his old confidence flared. I've never needed limits, he whispered to himself. I've never needed rules. But maybe, to survive here, I'll have to bend them my way. Whis tilted his head slightly, as if sensing the gears turning in Sonic's mind. If he refines his control, if he understands Kai without becoming bound by it, he could shift the balance of multiverses. Even destroyers would be cautious. Sonic's quills bristled in the wind as he looked up toward the sky. Somewhere, far above, Beerus' patience was fraying. Somewhere beyond comprehension, the Grand Priest was monitoring him. And somewhere, Zeno was curious. The realization hit him. In this universe, curiosity of gods was more dangerous than raw power. And Sonic, mortal with no ki, was about to become the anomaly that could change everything. Beerus' tail flicked once, slowly, purposefully. I'm watching you, he said softly. Sonic smiled faintly. Not cocky, not defiant, calculated. I'm not running, he said. I'm learning. And somewhere beyond the universes, the cosmos waited, wondering what would happen next. The sky shattered. Not literally, of course. Nothing in Universe 7 could claim that. But the horizon fractured like a reflection in a disturbed mirror. Sonic's feet barely touched the ground before reality itself seemed to stretch, elongate, and then compress around him. In a blink, the world he had known, the rocky plains, the distant horizon of Beerus' planet, even the soft wind through his quills, was gone. He landed on nothing. Not ground, not air, not space, just null, a realm of pure, infinite void, where color had weight and sound had shape. The null realm, and at the center, floating above nothing, were two small, perfectly symmetrical figures, eyes wide with innocent curiosity, yet radiating power beyond mortal comprehension. Zeno, the Omni Kings themselves. Sonic froze instinctively, a rare hesitation crossing his face. You brought me here? He asked, voice steady, though tinged with awe. Zeno's smile was radiant, almost playful. Yes, you ran really fast. I want to see how fast he really is, one chirped. The other bounced slightly in place. Faster than Goku? Faster than Beerus? Sonic's quills ruffled as he instinctively braced himself. I don't take orders, he said, voice firm, and I sure as heck don't bow to anyone, no matter how small or shiny. The null realm pulsed with anticipation, reacting to his words like a living entity. Space around him shimmered, tiny fractures in causality forming and dissipating. It seemed the universe itself held its breath. From somewhere beyond the void, a calm voice carried softly, measured. Careful, Whis' tone echoed, though there was no one visible. Do not underestimate them, nor let them underestimate you. Goku floated beside him, appearing as if from thin air. He's testing you, Goku said quietly, nodding toward the omnipotent children. Don't worry, Sonic, just be yourself, that's enough. Sonic glanced at him, smirk flickering momentarily. Being myself. He flexed his fists. I've been doing that my whole life. Vegeta, materializing beside Goku, shook his head. Your whole life is irrelevant here. These beings, they do not fight with ki. Their perception, their intent, their whims shape reality. You must adapt or be erased. Sonic's ears twitched, sensing the weight in Vegeta's words. Here, speed alone might not be enough. But then again, he had never been one to rely solely on limits. The smaller Zeno floated closer, hands behind his back. Let's see you run. Really run, he said, voice like a bell ringing in a cathedral of silence. Sonic's quills bristled with a mix of challenge and excitement. This wasn't Mobius. This wasn't Earth. This wasn't a battlefield he could predict. Every instinct screamed that a wrong move here could end him. But it also ignited the thrill that always accompanied speed, that eternal chase he craved. I don't know your rules, he said, stepping into an empty circle of shimmering null energy. But I don't need them. The other Zeno tilted his head, clapping their tiny hands. Good. We like brave. Run. Show us. Before Sonic could respond, the space around him shimmered again. He felt the pull of the Grand Priest's observation. Subtle, but undeniable. Every microsecond of his reaction, every decision, was being measured, weighed, and analyzed. Not as a threat yet, not as a mortal, but as an anomaly. Whis's calm voice broke the silence. Notice the difference. In this space, ki is irrelevant. Your speed becomes your intent. Your movement becomes the measure of reality. But be cautious. Even you may not outrun what watches. Sonic took a deep breath, feeling the subtle pressure of expectation settle around him. He clenched his fists, energy sparking faintly along the edges of his form. Not ki, not chaos energy, but the pure resonance of motion itself. A moment of stillness. Then, with a sudden, almost impatient clap of his hands, the first Zeno signaled. Start. Sonic launched forward. In an instant, he became a blur. Trails of blue and gold streaked across the null realm, bending the void itself, leaving after images that seemed almost alive. Reality twisted around him, stretching, compressing, folding in impossible ways. Yet every step was calculated, precise, a conversation between intention and movement. The Xenos giggled and squealed, following him with eyes that pierced both speed and strategy. Even Goku's mouth fell open slightly. Wow, he's pushing himself like nothing I've seen before. Vegeta, arms crossed, glared. Don't get cocky, Hedgehog. This isn't a game. One misstep and... But the sentence died. Words meant little in a place where reality bent to observation. The Grand Priest appeared in the corner of the realm, hands folded, expression unreadable. This exhibition will reveal much, both limits and potential, and perhaps even weaknesses no mortal should possess. Sonic's ears twitched. He could sense every curve of the null realm, every slight pull of Zeno's gaze, every microscopic distortion of the void. He had no key to sense them with, no energy to gauge, but his speed, honed to near perfection, became his instrument. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. Then let's show them. The Xenos clapped in unison, anticipation radiating from their very beings. And as Sonic prepared to push beyond everything he had ever known, beyond the speed that had once defined him, an unspoken truth loomed. This was not a test for him alone. This was a spectacle, one that could change the way gods, mortals, and universes understood motion, power, and the rules of existence itself. The null realm pulsed, waiting for the race to begin. And somewhere deep within the omniverse, even Zeno did not yet realize what would be unleashed. The exhibition match had begun, but who would be left to witness it? Alive. The arena of the null realm shimmered, stretching impossibly in every direction, yet solid enough to feel each step beneath Sonic's feet. Light fractured unnaturally across the void, following every pulse of motion, every ripple of energy. Sonic, quills bristling, and feet planted lightly on the ethereal ground, sensed movement beside him, a blur that approached with precision, measured intent, and the deadly grace of a warrior who had trained for years in the art of controlled speed. Dispo, Universe 11's Pride Trooper and undisputed speed specialist, had arrived. His aura crackled, golden and jagged, a stark contrast to Sonic's pure, unamplified velocity. Unlike Sonic, Dispo's speed was amplified by ki, refined and honed for combat situations that demanded anticipation, strategy, and exacting coordination. "You're fast," Dispo said, calm but sharp, voice slicing through the stillness. "But speed without control is predictable." Sonic's grin was confident, but there was an undercurrent of caution. He had raced across worlds, fought foes faster than thought, but none had combined raw motion with energy-based perception like this. "Predictable?" Sonic quipped. "Guess we'll see about that." Before words could even fade, the arena erupted. Dispo dashed forward, faster than Sonic had ever experienced a single opponent move. Each step left after images, but they weren't mere illusions. They were anchored by ki, allowing him to anticipate and react to the slightest movement. Sonic pivoted instinctively, dodging, but for the first time, he felt the burn of effort. Every twitch, every motion, every calculation had to be perfect. This was not racing through open plains or avoiding traps. This was structured combat, speed fused with combat awareness, prediction, and ki-guided reflexes. Sonic realized instantly that velocity alone, no matter how extreme, would not suffice. Dispo struck again, his fist cutting through space, a blur aimed directly at Sonic's midsection. Sonic phased to the side, a streak of blue light against a backdrop of fractured void, but Dispo adjusted midair, landing a solid hit against Sonic's side, sending him skidding across the Null Realm's ground. Pain flared, not from brute strength, but from the precision of the attack. Sonic had never been hit like this in years, not by Eggman's machines, not by Metal Sonic, not even by the most chaotic forces of Mobius. This was different. This was learning to respect the rules of this universe, rules dictated by ki, intent, and trained combat. Sonic skidded to a halt, quills bristling as he took in the situation. Dispo was steady, calm, almost serene in his approach, his eyes analyzing every microsecond of Sonic's movements. Sonic's mind raced, not just in physical speed, but mentally, calculating, adapting, trying to predict Dispo's rhythm, trying to turn raw motion into strategy. "I see," Sonic muttered, wiping a trickle of dust from his cheek. "Speed alone isn't enough here. Not even close." Dispo tilted his head slightly, a hint of curiosity in his otherwise disciplined expression. "Correct. Speed must be married with perception, with intention, with energy. Raw motion has limits." Sonic's feet dug into the void, and he dashed forward again, faster than before, weaving, twisting, exploiting every microsecond of temporal distortion. The Null Realm bent around him as he pushed his limits, stretching the space between attack and counterattack, testing Dispo's predictive instincts. For a moment, it seemed like Sonic might find a rhythm, like he could bridge the gap between pure speed and combat adaptation. But Dispo was ready. Kite amplified, movements fluid yet precise. The Pride Trooper adapted mid-strike, landing a glancing blow that sent Sonic spiraling once more, quills ruffling with force. Sonic's grin wavered, replaced by a rare flash of awe. He had never encountered anyone in this universe who could match him step for step, anticipate his motions before they even completed. And then, as Sonic braced to recover, the arena shifted subtly, a tremor moving through the very fabric of the Null Realm. Dispo's movements paused slightly, eyes narrowing, and the void fell silent. Sonic's ears twitched. Something massive had changed. Something far beyond Dispo's speed, beyond this exhibition, beyond even the Grand Priest's measured observation. From the distant void, a pulse of presence washed over the arena, deep and overwhelming, a power that seemed to eclipse all others. Slowly, deliberately, Jiren's eyes opened. The atmosphere froze, Dispo stiffened, stance tightening. Sonic, for the first time in this universe, felt a chill of uncertainty. Even here, in the null realm, speed alone could not prepare him for what was coming. Jiren's gaze swept across the arena, not just at Sonic, not just at Dispo, but at the entire null realm itself. The tension of anticipation pressed down, heavy enough to make the void ripple with silent tremors. Sonic's quills bristled, every fiber of his being alert, calculating, ready, but aware that this was no longer a contest of pure motion. This was a stage where speed, power, and perception would collide against an immovable force, a living judgment, a being capable of measuring potential in a single glance. Dispo muttered under his breath, a rare hint of caution. This isn't just a spar anymore. Sonic's teeth clenched. He adjusted his stance, fists glowing faintly with the echo of chaos energy restrained inside him. Then it's about time I learned the hard way, he whispered. The null realm pulsed, waiting. And in the distance, Jiren's presence expanded. Silent but absolute. A looming threat that even the fastest hedgehog in existence might struggle to outrun. The race had only just begun, but the real challenge was about to arrive. Far above the fragile theater of the null realm, the gods convened. The Grand Minister's expression remained unreadable, but the tension among the gods of destruction and their attendants was palpable. A ripple of uncertainty threaded through the divine ranks. A single mortal, a blue streak from another universe, was causing hesitation, speculation, even fear. Belmont, the ever-pragmatic destroyer of Universe 11, spoke first, his voice calm but sharp. This being is anomalous. His speed, his adaptability, his very presence destabilizes what little balance exists in Universe 7. He cannot be allowed to evolve further. His eyes, narrow and calculating, swept across the virtual council of gods. Preemptive elimination is the only way to ensure the multiverse remains intact. Champa scoffed from his throne beside Belmont. Oh, please. He's barely scratched the surface. Beerus just likes a challenge. Don't act like this is a real threat yet. Beerus, his tail flicking in irritation and pride, spoke up, his tone both defensive and reluctant. You overestimate him, and underestimate me. I will not allow some outsider to be erased simply because he moves faster than you're willing to comprehend. There was a dangerous glint in his violet eyes, pride and curiosity tangled together. Besides, if he evolves, it will be my influence that guides him. The Grand Priest, silent as ever, simply observed. His presence, serene yet overwhelming, kept the conversation taut. Even the gods of destruction hesitated under his gaze, knowing that while he said nothing, he saw everything. Dispo and Jiren were gone from the arena, yet their recent spar with Sonic lingered in thought. Jiren's calm, imperious presence had scanned Sonic's abilities, noting something unsettling. A potential unshackled by convention, yet refined through pure instinct. Speed, uncontrolled, yet precise. Chaos-bound, yet orderly. Unbound justice, Jiren murmured, his eyes narrowing as he considered the hedgehog's true nature. Sonic, meanwhile, was beginning to feel the rhythm. Not the rhythm of Mobius, not even the rhythm of his own motion, but the pulse of the universe itself. The null realm responded to his motion, the cracks of space and distortions of time bending subtly around him as he ran, almost intuitively. He began to sense when to accelerate, when to hesitate, when to shift. Not merely reacting, but anticipating the flow of a universe that didn't operate on the rules he had known. Interesting, Whis said, materializing near Sonic as he slowed to a near stop, his quills vibrating faintly with residual energy. He begins to perceive the underlying currents of divine rhythm. Not with ki, Not with power, but with velocity itself, refined to intuition. Sonic's eyes widened slightly, a rare flicker of amazement crossing his face. He had never felt anything like this. No robotic adversary, no Eggman scheme, no planetary threat had prepared him for the sensation of moving in sync with the pulse of existence itself. Yet, with revelation came caution. Sonic knew instinctively that every misstep, every overreach, could draw attention. Attention from beings far beyond his speed, beyond his comprehension. And in that observation, he realized that the gods above were not merely debating his fate, they were watching him, waiting for the moment he might tip the scales. Beerus, sensing Sonic's growing awareness, smiled faintly. Not with pride in the usual sense, but with something sharper, a thrill that someone outside the hierarchy might one day rival his own perception. He's learning, faster than I expected. His tail flicked once, sharply. But how much can one being absorb before the balance itself demands correction? Dispo's warning echoed in Sonic's mind, a reminder that structured combat and divine intent were worlds apart from Mobius's simplicity. Sonic's speed had carried him through countless threats, yet here it was only one piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle where perception, anticipation, and the flow of energy could outmatch even the fastest legs. The Grand Priest shifted slightly, a subtle movement, almost imperceptible, yet Sonic felt it as if a cold gust swept through his mind. Every heartbeat of the universe seemed to resonate with that presence. He began to understand, not with logic, not with explanation, but through the unshakable rhythm of motion itself, that speed alone would no longer suffice. Sonic adjusted his stance, quills raised, ears alert, eyes narrowing. The null realm pulsed beneath him, every microfracture of space and time bending slightly to his intent. He could feel the universe watching, feeling, responding to the choices he would make next. And somewhere beyond perception, Jiden's eyes remained open, scanning, calculating, his presence a silent warning. Even as Sonic's awareness expanded, a weight settled into the void. The balance of Universe 7, the attention of gods, the scrutiny of Zeno and the Grand Priest, all waiting to see whether this hedgehog would merely survive, or redefine what was possible. Sonic inhaled sharply, muscles tensing, quills flicking with anticipation. He was no longer just fast. He was aware, attuned, beginning to synchronize with the rhythm of the cosmos itself. But in the depths of the null realm, even as Sonic started to master that rhythm, an unspoken question lingered, one that made even the gods of destruction shift slightly in their seats. How far could he push before the universe itself pushed back? The arena held its breath, and Sonic, heart pounding, knew one undeniable truth. He was no longer just a hedgehog from Mobius. He was a force that even gods were forced to observe, and the universe was watching. Learning stillness. The null realm was silent, but not empty. Sonic's quills trembled with residual motion, his breaths short and sharp, as if the very concept of stillness were foreign. Whis hovered beside him, staff in hand, eyes gleaming with quiet curiosity. Speed, he said softly, is not merely motion, it is intent. But intent without calmness is chaos. To truly master your velocity, you must first master stillness. Sonic blinked. Stillness? His entire being was defined by motion. Every battle, every escape, every victory on Mobius had depended on movement, reflex, acceleration. To stop deliberately felt unnatural, almost wrong. Goku floated nearby, golden aura flickering faintly, as if echoing Sonic's inner struggle. I get it, Sonic, Goku said, voice casual but tinged with understanding. When I trained Ultra Instinct, I thought slowing down was weakness. Turns out, letting go of ego, letting go of reaction, that's when the flow starts. Sonic tilted his head, skeptical. flow without speed sounds like doing nothing. Vegeta snorted from the sidelines, arms crossed. Meditation and stillness are for weaklings. Speed without action accomplishes nothing. He shot a glance at Sonic. You'll never beat someone with raw key mastery by standing still. But Whis ignored him. Instead, he extended his staff, tracing a circle in the air. The null realm itself seemed to respond, light fracturing along the lines he drew. This is the paradox of movement and stillness. To move without force, to act without reaction. You are fast, Sonic. But can you exist without the need to be fast? Sonic clenched his fists. His mind raced. Every instinct told him to dash, to blur, to push his limits. But Whis' calm gaze held him in place, challenging him not with ki, but with the universe's rhythm itself. He took a tentative step, then another. The ground trembled faintly beneath him, as if the null realm itself was resisting his attempt to pause completely. Sonic's quills vibrated subtly, microfractures of energy slipping through his control. It was disorienting. Without motion, he felt exposed, every instinct screaming at him to run. Whis' voice cut through the tension. Stillness is not inaction, it is alignment. Align your motion with the universe, and the universe will carry you. Sonic's heart pounded. He exhaled slowly, forcing himself to halt entirely. For the first time, he was not thinking about speed, not thinking about evasion or attack. He simply existed. One point in the vast expanse of the null realm. Quills bristling, but frozen, energy vibrating faintly in resonance with the air around him. Then, something extraordinary happened. The null realm responded. Space itself seemed to soften, rippling gently, time's edge bending subtly around him. Colors deepened, shadows stretched differently, and Sonic could feel the currents of energy around him. Not through sight, not through reflex, but through perception alone. Goku's eyes widened. He's starting to see it. The flow of ultra instinct, not just as a technique, but as a rhythm of existence. Sonic's ears twitched as if catching the beat of some cosmic drum. He realized he could sense the timing of motion before it happened, not by reading an opponent, but by feeling the universe itself guide the sequence of events. Every particle, every fluctuation of air, every microsecond of energy in the null realm resonated with him. Vegeta gritted his teeth. This isn't just speed, it's perception beyond ki. Impossible. Whis' lips curved into a faint smile. Yes, he is not learning ultra instinct through ki. He is learning it through motion, through velocity refined into intuition. If perfected, he could rival the angels themselves, not by strength, but by the flow of being. Sonic, trembling slightly with exertion and unfamiliar awareness, opened his eyes fully. For the first time, he understood that speed was not about how fast he could move. It was about when not to move, when to exist in sync with the currents of reality itself. Every step, every pause, every flick of a quill could now resonate with the universe. Yet still, a seed of tension remained. Whis' calm observation, Goku's encouragement, Vegeta's skepticism. They were all reminders that mastery was far from complete. Sonic could feel the universe's rhythm, yes, but could he maintain it under pressure? Could he synchronize this newfound perception while facing opponents who bent reality itself with ki? A shiver ran down his spine as the null realm pulsed. Subtly, warning of forces beyond even Whis' immediate control. Sonic's quills bristled, not with speed, but with anticipation. And in that instant, a new awareness hit him. He could feel the flow of ultra instinct, not as an enemy technique, but as a rhythm of existence itself. The thrill of potential coursed through him, mingled with fear, wonder, and exhilaration. And yet, somewhere in the depths of the null realm, a distant pulse responded, a presence both absolute and silent, watching, waiting, measuring. Sonic inhaled sharply, quills vibrating in subtle harmony with the universe. Stillness had become more than a concept. It had become a tool, a revelation. But as the calm settled, a subtle tremor rippled through the void, a reminder that mastery was never final. The flow was not his to command entirely yet. For the first time, Sonic was not just racing against others. He was racing with the universe itself. And the universe was beginning to answer. Chaos. Energy awakens. The air around Beerus' planet shimmered like heat waves over a desert. But this was no ordinary distortion. Sonic's quills crackled faintly, vibrating in resonance with something deeper than raw speed. For years, his power had relied on Chaos Emeralds, artifacts that focused energy and amplified potential. But here, in Universe 7, there were no emeralds. And yet, Sonic felt a strange pull, an echo from the dimensional tear that had brought him here, a latent chaos resonance tied not to the stones, but to himself. It started small. His eyes glowed faintly, a teal shimmer running along the edges of his irises. His steps, even when halted, left after images in the air, bending perception. Sonic could feel it, the fabric of the null realm and the edges of the planet's surface responding to his presence, shifting subtly as if reality itself was acknowledging a foreign rhythm. He had never consciously accessed chaos energy without the emeralds, but here, in this divine theater, he found that movement alone, tuned with intent, could awaken it. Beerus' tail flicked sharply. The god of destruction's amber eyes narrowed. Careful, Hedgehog. That energy, it does not belong here. Foreign power mixing with divine essence is dangerous. Sonic smirked, ignoring the warning at first. Relax, big guy. I've handled stranger stuff than this. But the smirk faltered as he felt the energy surge unexpectedly, uncooperative, flickering like lightning on the edge of a storm cloud. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every fiber of his being longed to test the resonance. Goku hovered nearby, excitement flickering across his face like a wildfire. Whoa, Sonic! That's insane! You're not just fast anymore. You're making the world bend around you. His aura flared slightly, reacting subconsciously to the unfamiliar energy. Vegeta's eyes sharpened with suspicion. Careful. That's unstable. You think raw speed is dangerous? Wait until you can't control it. That's the sort of power that wipes out planets accidentally. Sonic's tail twitched. He could feel the chaos energy resonating, not just with him, but with the residual ki around Beerus' planet. The energy was unstable, yes, but it was alive, pulsating with the dimensional memory of his arrival. Every step, every subtle motion sent waves across the divine plane, ripples that even Whis observed with a raised eyebrow. Whis spoke quietly, almost to himself. Fascinating. He is harmonizing motion with probability itself. Not by ki, not by raw power, but by resonance. Sonic concentrated. He inhaled, felt the space around him pull and twist, and for the first time intentionally, synchronized his chaos energy with his own speed. The result was immediate, a visible distortion in the air, a shifting shimmer that bent light, pulled shadows, and left faint afterimages trailing like brushstrokes. He had never felt anything so raw, so infinite. Beerus' ears twitched with unease. Stop before you draw attention you cannot handle. But Sonic had already sensed it. The angels were watching. The ripple of chaos energy combined with his kinetic signature had reached them, subtle but undeniable. Whis tilted his head, staff poised but unmoving. If refined, he murmured, he could rival angels, not in strength, but in potential to reshape motion itself. Sonic gritted his teeth. Potential is great and all, but can it save me if someone actually tries to stop me? Before anyone could answer, the null realm pulsed sharply, and the energy around Sonic reacted violently. The afterimages multiplied, twisting into fractals of movement that no human eye, or even a Saiyan's could fully follow. The dimensional resonance was responding not just to Sonic, but to something else. A signal, faint but undeniable, rippling across the multiverse, echoing as if acknowledging his presence. Whis' eyes narrowed. Something has noticed him, and it is not small. Beerus' tail lashed again. I warned you. You've brought attention to this universe that we cannot predict. Foreign energy. Foreign speed. One misstep, and this could destabilize everything. Sonic took a deep breath, quills vibrating with the controlled tremor of raw potential. The chaos energy, his signature speed, and the strange resonance of dimensional travel had formed a singular rhythm. He could feel it pulsate through his veins, coiling around every quill, every sinew, every nerve. For the first time, he realized that he didn't need emeralds. He didn't need amplification. The energy was him. And yet, even as he felt mastery begin to bloom, a new pulse responded, a ripple that it was neither Beerus, Whis, nor any mortal or divine being in the immediate vicinity. Something across the multiverse had answered the distortion. The afterimages shimmered violently, the null realm quivering in response, and a low, almost imperceptible hum resonated through Sonic's body. Whis' eyes widened slightly. That was not Universe 7 responding. Something else, something far older, has noticed him. Sonic's ears twitched, and he felt a thrill mixed with a cold shiver. For all his speed, all his power, and all his experience, this was uncharted territory. The chaos energy was alive, yes, but now it had drawn attention, and whatever had answered it was coming. Sonic braced himself, every quill vibrating, every step resonating with raw energy. He had tapped into the power within himself, but the universe, or perhaps the multiverse, was watching. And the answer to that ripple was coming closer, faster than anything Sonic had ever faced. The multiverse shuddered. Where Sonic had unleashed the latent chaos key resonance, the ripples were no longer just waves. They had become a beacon. From the space between worlds, an entity answered. It moved without shape, without a form that the eye could fully register, but its presence was undeniable. Reality itself seemed to warp as it approached, bending light, pulling at gravity, and consuming energy signatures with an insatiable hunger. Even the gods of destruction, those titans who could erase planets with a thought, felt the tremor of this anomaly. Beerus' ears twitched nervously as he unleashed a fraction of his divine pressure. The attack struck nothing tangible, passed through, absorbed, and redirected back toward the source of the disturbance. Vegeta's fists, charged with blue ki, failed to leave more than a fleeting ripple. Goku's aura flickered, responding instinctively, but even his battle sense struggled to track the predator. Sonic, standing at the center of the energy convergence, felt the pull immediately. Every quill vibrated as the creature recognized him, not as a Saiyan, not as a mortal, but as the nexus of a new kind of power. The fusion of chaos energy and his inherent speed resonated like a signal flare across dimensions. It was hungry. It was intelligent. And it had marked him. The hedgehog's eyes narrowed, reflecting both defiance and calculation. So it came for me, he muttered under his breath. There was no time for hesitation. Even at his unmatched speed, he could sense the danger closing in, compressing time around him. The predator didn't move. It was. And in that state, movement was meaningless. Speed, irrelevant. It was a force of inevitability. Whis hovered behind him, staff poised, the calm observer suddenly tense. This is unlike anything Universe 7 has encountered. The creature consumes unstable energy signatures. Sonic's Chaos Kai fusion is a beacon. You may be the only target it recognizes. Beerus' tail flicked sharply. I warned you not to meddle with foreign energies. That thing is beyond anything I would usually tolerate. It's not just dangerous, it's existential. Sonic smirked, though the edge of tension was clear in his voice. Existential, huh? Guess that means it's serious. But even as he joked, he felt the pressure of reality bending around him. Each heartbeat, each step sent ripples through the fabric of space. The Predator's presence made even the Null Realm quiver, and the afterimages of Sonic's Chaos Kai resonance stretched into something almost tangible, like threads of light begging to be consumed. Goku stepped forward, energy radiating in controlled waves. Sonic, whatever it is, it's faster than you can run in a straight line. You'll have to think. Don't just move. Vegeta grunted, crossing his arms. Thinking won't help if it ignores physical limits. You're relying on chaos energy and speed. That combination might be your doom. Sonic clenched his fists, quills rising, a low hum emanating from his body as he tapped deeper into his resonance. He could feel the creature studying him, calculating him, adapting faster than instinct alone could predict. For the first time, he realized that this wasn't about raw speed or raw power. It was about survival, decision, and the rhythm of existence itself. The Predator's form became slightly more perceptible. It was like a shadow stretching through dimensions, with eyes, if they could be called that glowed with devouring intent. As it drew closer, the very air condensed around it, making the planetscape tremble. Beerus shifted uneasily, a rare moment of caution crossing his normally arrogant features. Even Whis' serene composure flickered with concern. Sonic's mind raced. He could flee, outrun the anomaly, but the energy he carried was unstable. If he ran, the Predator might follow blindly, consuming anything in its path, leaving Universe 7 vulnerable. But if he stayed, he would face the entity directly, relying on a mixture of speed, chaos resonance, and improvisation, a gamble against a being that didn't recognize conventional limits. Choice, Sonic muttered. Always a choice. He took a deep breath, focusing on the rhythm of his Chaos Key fusion. Every movement a potential trap or escape. Around him, the very space warped in response to the Predator's pull. He could feel it trying to draw him into its dimension, a place where even speed might be meaningless. Whis' voice cut through the tension like a chime in a storm. Whatever you do, Hedgehog, your decision will determine more than your own survival. The ripples have already reached the higher planes. Be careful. This creature does not merely fight. It consumes. Sonic's eyes gleamed with resolve, the vibrations of his quills intensifying as he readied himself. For the first time, he wasn't just a speedster testing limits. He was a conduit of new energy, a bridge between universes, facing a predator that defied all logic. And as the darkness between worlds twisted, coiled, and lunged toward him, Sonic knew the question wasn't if he could outrun it. The question was whether he could stand his ground. Time slowed. Every quill, every footstep, every heartbeat synchronized with the incoming threat. The Predator's intent was clear. It would devour him, or everything he protected. And Sonic, for the first time, realized that his speed alone might not be enough to survive. The Predator's form solidified further, a massive silhouette against the fractured cosmos, its gaze locked directly on him. Sonic had a choice to make: run or protect. And in that instant, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Pride versus freedom. The air around Beerus' planet shimmered, charged with tension that had nothing to do with Ki. Sonic and Vegeta faced each other once more, their last clash still echoing in both their minds. The hedgehog's quills bristled with residual chaos energy, his eyes sharp, calm, yet defiant. Vegeta's aura flared blue, disciplined and tightly coiled, every pulse of energy restrained, perfected through decades of training. Here, raw freedom would meet hardened pride. You think speed alone is enough? Vegeta's voice cut through the charged atmosphere. His tone was sharp, accusatory, like a blade honed on experience. Power must be disciplined, Trained, mastered. Without control, it is meaningless. Chaos, freedom. It does not define strength. Only responsibility does. Sonic smirked, quipping back with the ease of someone unshaken by cosmic authority. Discipline is fine for those who follow rules. But freedom? Freedom defines strength. Freedom lets you react before the rules even exist. His words weren't just bravado. They carried the essence of his life on Mobius. His years of running, fighting Eggman, and surviving against impossible odds. He moved as he thought. Fast, instinctive, unrestricted. Vegeta narrowed his eyes, crossing his arms before exploding forward with a precise, controlled blitz. Each movement was calculated to pressure Sonic, to contain and predict his actions. But Sonic, fluid and instinctive, shifted through the air, a blur of blue quills and uncontrolled motion. His speed wasn't just physical, it was a philosophy in motion, a refusal to be confined, even by someone who had conquered gods. The spar escalated rapidly. Every punch, kick, and dash was a conversation, an argument written in motion. Vegeta's blows struck with the force of discipline. Sonic's responses flowed with the logic of freedom. Yet, for every near miss and dodge, the universe itself seemed to tremble. Dust clouds, shockwaves, and rippling air distorted the battlefield, but neither combatant slowed. Their clashing ideologies manifested in every move: pride against instinct, control against spontaneity, law against liberty. Goku observed nearby, his expression unreadable yet tinged with amusement. He's fast, but look at how Vegeta adapts. It's not just power. He's trying to teach Sonic something, whether he admits it or not. Vegeta's attacks began to subtly change, each one testing more than speed or reflex. He targeted decision-making, forcing Sonic into split-second judgments, pushing him to blend his raw freedom with a hint of restraint. Sonic responded with instinct and creativity, sliding around strikes, vaulting over energy blasts, and generating chaos after images to confuse even a trained Saiyan. He was learning, evolving, proving that freedom could coexist with technique. "You remind me of Kakarot," Vegeta said suddenly, almost grudgingly, as he landed a solid mid-range strike that sent Sonic skidding across a crater. Before he understood responsibility, before he realized power carries weight. His words hung heavy in the air. There was acknowledgement in the admission, a grudging respect that clashed with his usual arrogance. Sonic, smiling, picked himself up, his chest rising and falling as he surveyed Vegeta. Then let's hope I'm better at it than he was. But the moment of philosophical triumph was broken. The Predator, the interdimensional entity drawn by Sonic's Chaos Kai resonance, shifted. Its presence expanded and morphed, reacting to the energy of the spar. The distortion that had been looming between universes pulsed violently, sending shockwaves outward. The entity was not patient. It adapted, evolved, and now responded not just to Sonic, but to the clash of wills itself. Whis' staff twirled slowly as his eyes widened slightly. Incredible. It's learning from them, from this conflict, from their philosophies. Its adaptation is unprecedented. Beerus' tail flicked sharply, the subtle smirk of confidence fading from his face. That thing, it's evolving too fast. Faster than I anticipated. His gaze hardened on Sonic. You think your freedom means anything if you drag this creature into existence. Sonic's ears twitched, quills vibrating as he felt the Predator's awareness sharpen. Every decision he made now had weight, not just for him, but for the universe itself. Every choice to strike, dodge, or move freely could feed the entity's hunger or provide an opening. The lesson was immediate. Freedom was powerful, but unchecked. It could awaken unimaginable threats. Vegeta, chest heaving from exertion, smirked fiercely despite the warning. Let's see if your freedom can survive structure and survival. He lunged again, faster, more precise, pushing Sonic's instincts to their absolute limit. Sonic's mind raced. He realized that strength was not merely speed or raw power, nor discipline alone. It was the combination. The ability to remain free, yet mindful. Fast, yet precise. Instinctive, yet deliberate. He felt the rhythm of the universe, the flow of chaos energy intertwined with the divine order around him. And then, as if in acknowledgement of this growth, the Predator's form expanded further, its mass warping the space around them. Its essence thrummed with intent, and a pulse of dark energy raced toward Sonic. The hedgehog's quills bristled violently. His ears flattened. He had reached the precipice of instinct, freedom, and raw power. The Predator had evolved mid-battle. And now, the question loomed larger than ever. Could speed and freedom alone confront a being that adapted in real time? The universe held its breath. The cost of going faster. The battlefield trembled as Sonic's quills shimmered with raw, uncontrolled energy. Chaos resonance, once a subtle hum within him, now surged violently, a torrent bending the air and warping the very space around Beerus' planet. Every step he took left after images, not just echoes of motion, but fragments of reality itself, vibrating against the laws of Universe 7. This was no longer a spar. This was an experiment against physics itself. Goku hovered nearby, observing intently, his own aura calm but alert. "Sonic, you don't have to do this alone," he called, his voice steady but urging. "I can help you stabilize. Fighting together might give us a chance against that thing." Sonic shook his head, determination blazing in his eyes. "No, this isn't about teaming up. I need to see if I belong here. If I can handle this on my own." His words carried the weight of pride, yes, but also the curiosity that had defined him for years. He wasn't afraid of speed. He was afraid of stagnation, of letting potential go unrealized. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, arms crossed tightly as he watched the chaos unfold. "Stupid hedgehog. There's a limit to freedom," he muttered under his breath. "Go too far, and the universe itself pays the price." The energy around Sonic surged again, this time with a resonance that made Whis' normally serene eyes widen. He tilted his staff slightly, studying the phenomenon. At this rate, if he continues accelerating, he will not merely break his own limits. He will disrupt the fabric of this universe. The words were quiet, deliberate, an observation that sent a ripple of unease through even the god of destruction, Beerus. Beerus flicked his tail sharply, irritation masked by a thin layer of concern. "So he's really gonna do it, huh? Let's see if your pride costs more than your skin, hedgehog." Sonic's movements blurred, faster than the eye could track, faster than any key sensor could read. He wasn't generating ki, but his chaos energy, amplified by his innate velocity, interacted with the divine energy around him. Each dash tore at the air. Each vibration threatened the structural integrity of the planet beneath them. Even the smallest miscalculation could create a cataclysmic shockwave. Goku's expression shifted from encouragement to concern. "Sonic, you're destabilizing yourself. You have to be careful. At this speed, your body isn't designed to handle this much energy." Sonic's ears twitched. "I know, but if I don't push, I'll never know how far I can go." There was no arrogance here, only clarity. His mind and body moved as one, instinctively navigating chaos without hesitation. Fist floated silently, staff raised, observing the increasingly volatile energy. Fascinating. The hedgehog is not merely moving faster than light. He is approaching the theoretical velocity at which matter and probability intertwine. If he crosses the threshold, Universe 7 may collapse. Entire timelines could fracture. The Predator, drawn to the Chaos Kai fusion, circulated nearby, sensing the shift. Its form pulsed, expanding with every acceleration Sonic made, adapting to the new level of energy now flowing through him. The entity was learning, evolving in real time, responding to Sonic's daring gamble. Vegeta clenched his fists, stepping forward, the aura of controlled fury radiating off him. "Enough!" he shouted, but even his disciplined energy could barely reach Sonic. "You're not thinking. This isn't about speed anymore. You're flirting with annihilation." Sonic's eyes glinted, quills bristling violently as he launched into another burst. "Then I'll just have to take the risk," he yelled, surging forward with all the chaos energy he could muster. A blur that tore across space faster than anything Universe 7 had ever witnessed. His speed was no longer just motion. It was a force reshaping reality around him. Time seemed to stretch, each moment an eternity, as Sonic pushed past thresholds even Whis considered dangerous. The air hissed and warped. Planets in the distance trembled. Beerus' irritation was now tempered with alarm. This is no mortal game anymore," he muttered. And then the moment came. Sonic crossed the critical velocity. The threshold wasn't visible to the eye. It was a point where raw motion could unravel matter, where chaos energy began tangling with the universe's own threads. The environment screamed in protest, and a jagged wave of distortion tore through space itself. Whis' eyes widened, voice trembling with a rare note of urgency. "He's crossed it. Universe 7 cannot hold this indefinitely. If he continues, the consequences will be catastrophic." Sonic skidded to a halt, or rather, attempted to, but the world around him continued to ripple with residual energy. His heart raced, body vibrating at the edge of stability, quills sparking with dangerous intensity. He had won speed, yes, but at what cost? And in that moment, the predator that had been circling, evolving, and responding paused, as if acknowledging the sheer magnitude of what had just occurred. Its attention narrowed to Sonic, a singular focus that promised confrontation and reckoning. The universe seemed to inhale. Every god, warrior, and watcher sensed the turning point. Sonic had crossed a line no mortal, or even most divine beings, had ever dared approach. The question now was not speed, not freedom, not even survival. It was, what happens when the very fabric of reality recognizes a force it cannot contain? And from the shadows of the distorted cosmos, the predator prepared its response. The void above Universe 7 shimmered with a strange tension, a vibration that even the angels could feel. Sonic, now a blur of cobalt light, had entered a state that defied conventional understanding, a pseudo-transcendent speed that was neither purely chaos energy nor fully chi-based. He called it chaos divinity, though the universe itself might have called it impossible. Around him, reality seemed to stretch, to fracture, as if even the fundamental laws were struggling to keep pace with his motion. Whis hovered nearby, his expression calm, but eyes sharp. He had seen a lot, fighters pushing beyond mortal limits, even the occasional brush with godly energy. But this was different. "He's moving," Whis murmured, voice barely audible, in a realm adjacent to angels, not full supersonic, not fully divine. Yet the flow he's accessing rivals those trained for millennia. Beerus flicked his tail, uneasy. "I don't like it. A mortal shouldn't touch that kind of speed, even partially. It's reckless." Goku, hovering in observation, leaned slightly forward, a mixture of excitement and concern on his face. "It's incredible, Beerus. He's fast. Faster than I could have imagined. But I don't know if he realizes how dangerous this is." The predator, interdimensional, intelligent, adaptive, watched from the folds between realities. Each surge of chaos divinity Sonic emitted was a new signal, a new rhythm to which the predator attuned itself. Previously, it had been testing, learning. Now, it adapted, evolving faster than before. Its form rippled like liquid shadows, an amorphous nightmare that seemed impossible to harm. Sonic moved without moving, his legs, ears, and quills blurred beyond recognition. He existed in multiple overlapping planes for mere fractions of a second, speed so refined that even Whis could only follow the outline of his trajectory. Fascinating, Whis whispered to himself, lips barely moving. He doesn't just move through space, he bends it, interacting with probability itself. And yet, he hasn't fully awakened the power of the Chaos Emeralds. This could rival angelic potential. The Grand Priest appeared, descending silently from a higher plane. His presence alone shifted the energy balance, a serene weight that even Beerus recognized. "I see," the Grand Priest said, voice calm but resonant, carrying both curiosity and judgment. A mortal manipulating velocity to the point where it begins to echo divine cadence. Remarkable. Sonic, sensing a new level of observation, slowed fractionally, not to pause, but to acknowledge. He had learned much from Goku and Whis about restraint, about flow. Yet the Grand Priest's scrutiny felt different. It wasn't just power, it was comprehension. He understood motion as an extension of existence itself. For the first time, Sonic realized that speed wasn't just speed. It could be a language, a bridge between mortal and divine. Vegeta clenched his fists, watching with a mix of frustration and grudging admiration. This hedgehog, he's not disciplined, not bound by training, and yet he moves with purpose, like a cannonball of freedom, completely uncontained. Sonic's aura flickered and pulsed, and the Predator reacted instantly. It had learned the patterns of his previous movements, but this Chaos Divinity speed, was something beyond its algorithms, beyond its comprehension. Energy pulses that should have been traceable now shifted unpredictably. Every dodge, every surge, every vibration was a puzzle, a paradox that no interdimensional predator had yet faced. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Planets twitched in orbit, stars flickered, even the gods of destruction felt a subtle ripple in their perception of power. Whis' staff hummed softly, a warning that the system of reality was now in dialogue with a force it had never catalogued. Then, in a moment too fast for mortal eyes, the Predator changed. Its amorphous form tightened, refined, and accelerated. It had adapted to Chaos Divinity speed faster than Sonic could anticipate. A shadow across dimensions, it lunged with a precision that mirrored Sonic's own. Sonic braced, energy spiking violently, quills electrified with blue-white resonance. He was no longer just reacting. He was calculating, anticipating, moving along probabilities, trying to outrun fate itself. And yet, even at this heightened state, he felt the Predator's intelligence match him, challenging him to push further. Whis' eyes narrowed. Even I cannot fully track him now. And the Predator, it has evolved again. The feedback loop between them, chaos energy and interdimensional predation, is destabilizing the local multiversal flow. Beerus growled low in his throat. If that thing touches him, if he falters, it's not just the hedgehog who dies. Universe 7 could fracture. Sonic's grin was faint, almost serene amid the chaos. He had never felt more alive, more aware of the raw thread of reality beneath his feet, or in this case, beneath his speed. Yet a part of him recognized the danger. Every instinct screamed caution, but the thrill of freedom, of testing the limit, pushed him forward. The Predator lunged once more, faster, sharper, its form almost tangible now. Sonic met it, Chaos Divinity energy flaring around him, light bending across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. And in that frozen heartbeat between motion and collision, the universe seemed to ask a question. Could a mortal, speed incarnate, free and unbound, truly break the barrier between angels and men, without shattering everything else in the process? The answer hung, suspended, as the Predator adapted yet again, and Sonic hurtled toward a fate no one, not even the gods, had dared predict. When speed meets stillness, the battlefield hung in a strange suspension. caught between Sonic's chaos divinity energy and the Predator's interdimensional form. Sonic's quills sparked with raw velocity, but with every motion he felt it. The Predator feeding on the energy of pure speed. Every dash, every instantaneous shift, every vibration of chaos energy strengthened the entity. The realization hit him like a meteor. Moving faster was no longer the solution. Speed alone was the weapon the Predator thrived upon. Goku hovered nearby, his eyes tracking the blur of Sonic's cobalt form. "You're thinking about it wrong," Goku called, voice urgent over the roaring distortion of time. "It's not just speed, you've got to control it. Feel the stillness inside the motion. That's Ultra Instinct." Sonic skidded to a stop mid-air, though stop didn't feel like the right word. He wasn't slowing. He was entering a paradoxical state. His body vibrated imperceptibly, existing in multiple temporal layers at once. He could see the Predator's trajectory before it even unfolded, yet he remained perfectly still, motionless in a flow of moving time. The blue-white energy around him didn't dissipate. It spiraled, contained, aware. The Predator recoiled, unprepared. It had adapted to raw motion, to kinetic chaos, but it had never encountered this stillness within speed. Sonic's quills glimmered like quantum threads, weaving a web of probability that made him untouchable, even to an entity that existed between universes. Each attempt the Predator made to strike was met with empty space, or worse, predicted and avoided before it happened. Goku's grin widened. "Exactly. That's it. You're not moving, but you're everywhere the motion could go. You're fighting time itself." He pushed himself slightly forward, nudging Sonic's understanding, offering guidance in the middle of the fight. "Focus on intent, not velocity. Channel your chaos energy as your anchor, not your weapon." Sonic's mind snapped into a clarity he had never experienced. Speed without ego, motion without chaos. The paradox formed a perfect loop. The Predator's energy, once drawn from his raw motion, now collided with a wall of calm. The entity faltered, rippling, uncertain how to extract nourishment from a source that didn't feed it in any traditional sense. Whis, observing from above, tilted his head, an expression of measured fascination. "Incredible," he murmured. Voice soft enough that only the faintest ripple of the cosmos carried it. He isn't just moving through space or time. He is existing between them, anchored by chaos, yet disciplined by stillness. If he refines this, even angels may need to reconsider his place in the multiversal hierarchy. Beerus's tail flicked nervously. Stillness? Inside speed? Don't tell me that Hedgehog is going to do something impossible now." His glare was sharp, but even he felt the weight of what Sonic had discovered. A mortal, unbound by training, unshackled by rules, was bending principles that even gods had spent eons mastering. The Grand Priest appeared above the battlefield, silent and observing. His presence alone altered the fabric of perception, and yet even he paused, intrigued. Sonic's form, now an almost imperceptible shimmer of time, seemed to exist outside the usual metrics of speed and energy. The Predator, sensing this new alignment, hissed, a sound that resonated not through space, but through the concept of probability itself. Vegeta crossed his arms, watching with skeptical fascination. "Stillness, inside speed," he muttered. Never thought I'd see a mortal actually make movement a weapon by not moving." His eyes, usually sharp with judgment, betrayed a flicker of grudging respect. Time itself seemed to respond. Planets slowed, the ambient key currents stilled, and even the shockwaves from Sonic's previous movements froze mid-expansion. The Predator lunged once more, a wave of interdimensional force, only to halt abruptly, as if colliding with a wall of reality. Sonic was perfectly still, yet fully aware, fully engaged. The paradox had become a weapon, a shield, and a trap all at once. Energy spiraled outward in fractal patterns. the chaotic blue and white of Sonic's chaos divinity merging seamlessly with this newfound stillness. The battlefield hung in tense equilibrium. For the first time in this multiversal clash, the Predator was uncertain. Every instinct it had relied upon, every adaptation it had executed, was now useless. Sonic's stillness was not absence. It was omnipresent. And in that heartbeat, the universe itself seemed to pause. Stars shimmered, planets quivered in orbit, and even angels felt the resonance. Time was frozen, but Sonic existed within the flow, perfectly balanced, a bridge between chaos and calm. Then, with a sudden, imperceptible shift, the Predator adapted once more. A ripple through reality hinted at a force even Sonic had not anticipated. His quills bristled, energy crackling with anticipation. He had mastered stillness, but the question remained. Could he maintain it under an entity evolving faster than time itself? And for a brief, electrifying instant, the cosmos held its breath. Reality froze. And in that frozen silence, the next chapter of the battle, one that could reshape the multiverse, was about to begin. The battlefield shimmered in uneasy stillness. The Predator, a mass of interdimensional energy, thrashed and shifted in patterns no mortal could track. Yet Sonic had found a rhythm. It wasn't about moving faster anymore. Not really. Every instinct, every fiber of his being, told him that raw speed alone would no longer suffice. The lesson of stillness had crystallized. Velocity without control feeds the chaos, but micro-movements compressed into singular intent could rewrite outcomes. Sonic hovered just above the fractured surface of the null realm, the energy of chaos divinity crackling faintly around him. Goku and Vegeta flanked him, their auras stabilizing the Predator with careful precision. They weren't simply holding it in place, they were buying him time, a window to execute something previously unimaginable. The Predator pulsed in resistance, reacting to their combined ki, but Sonic's attention was singular. His eyes narrowed, mind calculating infinite possibilities in a fraction of a heartbeat. He began to move, but not in the conventional sense. Every motion was infinitesimal, compressed to its maximum efficacy. Each micro-step, each subtle quiver of his quills, stacked in rapid succession until they coalesced into a singular decisive strike. To an observer, he seemed almost still, yet within that stillness, the entire flow of combat time had been reorganized. The Predator's attacks, once a torrent of interdimensional force, slowed against him, not because Sonic had outsped them, but because he had transcended the normal metrics of motion. "Remember," Goku called, his voice calm amid the chaos. "Speed isn't just movement. It's decision, timing, intent. Make it count." Sonic's mind focused on probability, chaos resonance, and the flow of ki through his environment. He no longer had to anticipate the Predator's moves. They were predictable by virtue of the compressed micro-movements he now executed. With every split-second adjustment, he edged closer to the entity's core, the source of its destabilizing energy. His chaos energy didn't merely ripple outward, it threaded through the fabric of reality itself, harmonizing with ultra-instinct principles he had learned from stillness. Vegeta's scowl deepened as he observed Sonic. I never thought that speed could think." His tone carried grudging respect, but also tension. For the first time, Sonic's approach wasn't just raw movement, it was intelligence manifest. Every strike, every shift, was preloaded with intention. Vegeta had trained for years to compress ki into explosive efficiency. Sonic was compressing himself into decisive inevitability. The Predator reacted violently, sensing the inevitability in Sonic's advance. It lashed out, waves of interdimensional force tearing across the null realm, but Sonic's compressed strike didn't falter. In that single motion, he connected with the Predator's core, a strike not faster, but smarter. A ripple of controlled chaos energy, tempered by stillness, surged through the creature, and then outward. The effect was immediate and universal. Goku and Vegeta's ki stabilized the area, just enough to channel the release, without catastrophic fallout. The Predator's form disintegrated into resonant energy, collapsing in on itself, as if the universe itself had drawn it into a singular point of inevitability. The null realm trembled, and for an instant, Sonic could feel the pulse of every nearby universe, every heartbeat of creation itself. His strike had done more than incapacitate the Predator. It had stabilized the chaotic resonance that threatened to unravel reality across multiple dimensions. Whis hovered above, expression calm but inscrutable. Remarkable. He has not surpassed angels by strength alone, but by comprehension, speed and stillness, chaos and Kai, decision and action, fused into one. His eyes briefly met Sonic's, a hint of approval hidden in the serene mask of an angel's composure. Even Beerus' tail flicked nervously. Don't think for a second I'm impressed. But that was effective. His usual irritation was tempered by caution. Sonic wasn't just fast. He had learned how to exist between the lines of motion, between the gaps of potential energy, and even a god of destruction knew that such a being could not be underestimated. For the first time in the battle, silence swept over all observers. Not just Universe 7, but the Null Realm, the watching angels. Even distant Caius sensed it. Every universe seemed to hold its breath. Sonic's micro-movements had compressed not only his body and energy, but the very moment of confrontation itself. Time, perception, and probability had been distilled into a single universe-stabilizing blow. Sonic floated, quills bristling, energy spiraling faintly around him. The Predator was gone, yet the resonance lingered. Something beyond even this threat had responded to the compression of motion and stillness, a signal that stretched across multiversal boundaries. Every being sensitive to cosmic balance felt it, from the Grand Priest to Zeno. And then, the silence broke. Not with sound, but with expectation. Across all universes, countless eyes opened. Questions rippled through existence. Who, or what, had just redefined the limits of speed and intent? And more importantly, what would answer to that strike next? The final acceleration had occurred. Sonic had proven his place in this reality. But the multiverse was not done testing him. Judgment of the gods. The emptiness of the null realm stretched endlessly, a void of muted light and infinite perspective. Sonic hovered midair, the faint blue glow of his chaos resonance still spiraling around him, echoing the rhythm of a power that had just rewritten what even gods thought possible. Silence dominated the space, heavier than any gravity he had ever felt. Here, Zeno, the Omni King himself, watched, expressionless yet brimming with curiosity. The weight of judgment pressed down, more formidable than any opponent Sonic had ever faced. Zeno's tiny form floated, delicate yet omnipotent, as if the cosmos itself had shrunk to fit his presence. "This being," Zeno said simply, voice echoing in 1,000 dimensions, "has altered balance in ways I cannot fully measure. He understands too much." The words weren't just a statement. They were a verdict in motion. Sonic tensed instinctively. He had faced monsters that tore through planets, predators that devoured realities, yet nothing prepared him for the gaze of the Omni King. The air itself seemed to vibrate with potential catastrophe or creation, and Sonic's quills bristled, absorbing every nuance of cosmic energy around him. Before the silence could harden into judgment, Beerus, god of destruction, spoke, his tone uncharacteristically measured. "He is dangerous," Beerus said, eyes narrowing as he studied Sonic. "But he is not chaos incarnate. He is balance incarnate, in a form you do not yet understand." A ripple of shock moved through the assembly. Even Whis, serene as ever, raised an eyebrow. Gods of destruction rarely defended mortals, especially one so unbound. Yet, Beerus's gaze carried weight, and the logic behind it was undeniable. Sonic's movements, even in raw chaos divinity, had never destroyed indiscriminately. He had combined speed, stillness, and intent. He had not just fought, he had stabilized the multiversal flow itself. The Grand Priest, hovering beside Zeno, added a voice of reason that carried the authority of timelessness. The being before you, he said, arms folded, has learned to thread chaos energy with divine balance. He now understands the principle that governs all creation. Speed alone cannot define strength. Intent and harmony do. He has achieved what few mortals could aspire to, yet without arrogance. He is not a threat, if guided. Sonic felt a strange tension tighten in his chest. The combined weight of divine scrutiny was unlike any speed or force he had ever experienced. And yet, for the first time in this journey, he understood. True power was not in outrunning everything or dominating foes. It was in comprehension, in knowing when to move and when to stand still. Zeno tilted his head, the blank curiosity of his face now tinged with consideration. You are fast, but more than fast. You make the universe obey your understanding of it. Too dangerous or ready? Sonic's eyes flicked to Beerus. There was pride in the god of destruction's stance, faint as it was. Beerus's tail twitched in amusement, a subtle endorsement of Sonic's potential. And then, almost imperceptibly, Sonic's gaze fell to Goku, hovering just behind him, aura still glowing from the recent battle. Goku gave him a small, encouraging smile, the kind that said, "You've come far, but there's more to learn." The familiarity of it struck Sonic in a way no cosmic threat ever could. Goku represented the bridge between raw power and understanding, the one who had always seen the heart of a fighter, rather than just their energy signature. Zeno's hand extended small, but infinitely commanding, and a choice was laid before Sonic. Remain here and train under the observation of gods and angels, refining a power that could rival even the highest echelons of divine entities. Or return home to Mobius, to a life that would never again know the stakes of universal balance, but would offer freedom and the familiar certainty of speed without consequence. The silence stretched. Every microsecond seemed drawn into the weight of decision. Sonic's quills tingled, his aura humming with residual chaos energy. The predator, the multiversal disturbances, the lessons in stillness, speed, and harmony. All of it converged in this moment. This was not a fight against an enemy. This was the ultimate test of identity, of purpose, and of choice. Whis floated slightly closer, voice soft, yet edged with gravitas. Decide carefully. To remain is to risk existence itself, but also to transcend it. To return is to preserve what you know, but never reach what you could become. Sonic inhaled sharply, eyes narrowing as he looked back once more at Goku. The smile remained, simple, encouraging, unwavering. And in that glance, Sonic understood. Whether he chose to stay or go, his path would forever be intertwined with this universe of gods, of power, and of responsibility. The universe held its breath. Zeno's tiny hands paused midair. Beerus's tail ceased its flicking. Even the Grand Priest, timeless and unreadable, inclined his head slightly. The decision hung in the balance, as monumental as any battle. And for a heartbeat, the entire multiverse waited, wondering if Sonic would accept the training of gods, or return to the speed and freedom of his own world. The cliffhanger. Sonic's gaze lingered on Goku, a silent acknowledgement, a question unspoken, and the universe trembled in anticipation of his choice. The air shimmered around him, charged with a residual energy that even angels paused to admire. Sonic hovered for a heartbeat in the null realm, the echoes of chaos resonance still coiling around him like a living thing. His gaze drifted across Universe 7, taking in the planets, the aura of gods, and the figures who had changed his understanding of power. For a moment, he could feel the pull, the call to stay, to train, to chase something beyond even his wildest speed. But deep down, he knew his place was still elsewhere. Sonic exhaled, and with a flash of blue light, he decided he would return. Not out of fear, nor out of failure, but because freedom had always been his path. Yet he left something behind, a fragment of himself, a stabilized thread of chaos energy interwoven with the divine currents of Universe 7. It hovered in orbit around the planet, subtle but undeniable, a lingering signature of the hedgehog who had outrun gods. Goku floated forward, his Super Saiyan blue aura rippling like sunlight on water. "Hey," he said, grinning broadly. "You're still fast, but I know you'll be back. Next time, we'll race, fair and square." Sonic turned to him, a rare smirk forming on his face, the corners of his mouth lifting as if to say, "I'll take you on, Goku, and next time, I won't hold back." Vegeta stood nearby, arms crossed, his expression one of reluctant respect. He said, voice clipped but genuine, "You've got more than just speed. You actually make me think, Hedgehog. Don't expect me to go easy next time." There was no scoff, no derision, just acknowledgement. For Sonic, that weighed more than any victory lap or cosmic endorsement. It was validation from warriors who had been tested by the universe itself. Whis floated above, serene as ever, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Some beings," he murmured softly, voice carrying through the cosmic stillness, "don't conquer universes. They outrun destiny." His eyes followed Sonic as the hedgehog prepared to depart, noting the subtle stabilizing of the residual chaos thread, the way Sonic's presence had reshaped perception, not just power, in this realm. The winds of dimensional space swirled around Sonic, faster than sound, faster than light. Or at least it appeared so to mortal eyes. He drew in a final breath of Universe 7's atmosphere, letting the memory of its energy imprint itself on him. Every lesson, every spar, every encounter, from the prideful Saiyans to the silent gods watching from above, was now a part of him. His speed had been tempered with understanding. His freedom had been measured against the framework of divine order. And in that fleeting moment, Sonic realized that he was no longer just a hedgehog running across worlds. He was a conduit of motion itself, a force capable of threading through universes. And then he moved. Not in bursts, not in flares of chaos, but in a controlled, fluid compression of movement. Space seemed to bend as he blurred through existence, leaving behind only the faint blue glimmer of his chaos imprint. Goku raised his hand in a wave, shouting after him, "Don't take too long, Hedgehog." Vegeta's eyes narrowed, unspoken challenge lingering in the air, while Beerus just flicked his tail, an inscrutable expression crossing his divine features. Even Zeno's gaze lingered for a moment longer. Curiosity piqued, as though the Omni King already suspected that this was not the end of Sonic's story. In the aftermath, Whis hovered silently, observing the subtle threads of energy left behind. The fragment of Sonic's chaos energy shimmered faintly, responding to the cosmic currents like a heartbeat. "It seems," he said softly, "that some forces are not measured by power alone. They are measured by speed, yes, but also by will, intent, and the ability to move where others cannot follow." And then, across the vast tapestry of the multiverse, a ripple stirred. Somewhere far away, in a realm untouched by Universe 7, a faint motion stirred. Faster than light, faster than thought, a streak of blue racing across stars that had never seen it before. Whis tilted his head slightly, sensing the disturbance. Beerus's ears twitched. Even the Grand Priest's expression, normally unreadable, hardened ever so slightly. A question hung in the air, a tension that bridged dimensions. If one being could outrun destiny, who or what might follow in his wake? Sonic's figure disappeared into the infinite horizon, leaving Universe 7 forever changed. The fragment of chaos energy pulsed gently, a silent guardian, a whisper of possibility. Somewhere, in another time, another universe, the echo of his speed would awaken again, and the multiverse held its breath, waiting for the next race. The cliffhanger lingered, like the faint crackle of energy on the edge of perception. Sonic was gone, but something, somewhere, had begun moving faster. Much faster, and it was coming,